Let's get ourselves connected. Gotta get yourself connected.
We've got Mathew Ingram on the line from the Globe and Mail. Thanks for joining us, Mathew.
Thanks for having me, Mike.
Wanted to talk about one of your recent blog posts that I found quite interesting, and it was to do with the UK government and a draft bill wanting ISPs or internet service providers to police piracy. Can you give us the lowdown on that?
Yeah, this is actually something that they're not the first ones. In fact, France is thinking about the same thing. And what they're talking about is effectively requiring ISPs to filter and track copyrighted content that people are sharing illegally and then cut them off if they share it, say, more than 3 times. Britain's proposal in this sort of draft proposal is that you'd get a 3 strikes and you're out. Share something once, you get an email. Share something twice, and you get a phone call or a letter, and then the 3rd time they cut off your internet account altogether.
And so the ISP would be responsible for policing that? Aren't there some holes in that?
Well, I think there's some pretty gigantic holes, and the biggest one is if you're a real sort of pirate, if you want to call them that, if you're someone who does this all the time, there are any number of ways that you can disguise the files that you're uploading or downloading, so that it would be virtually impossible for ISPs to even tell that this is copyrighted content. So that's sort of flaw number 1, is how do you track the content? They'd have to filter every packet. They'd have to, compare it against some sort of watermark or something. It would be virtually impossible to do, and hugely capital intensive for the industry. Plus, it probably wouldn't work. And so then the other flaw is, we've come to think of ISPs as being like the phone company. The phone company doesn't listen in on your phone calls and then block you if you're talking about, overthrowing the government or whatever. This is effectively an attempt to get the ISPs to do the work of, the police force or the authorities or whatever. And when their whole purpose is to give you an internet connection, and they're not supposed to care what you do with that internet connection, provided you abide by the terms of the contract.
I mean, what are the realities of this bill actually becoming law? I mean, it's a pretty slippery slope, asking ISPs to actually look at the content that you're downloading. Like you said, there's all sorts of privacy issues. I just can't see that getting through on the way it's worded right now.
I must admit, I can't see it either, and this is just a draft proposal. I mean, it has to go through all sorts of layers of committees and discussion and so on. So I assume at some point someone's going to say, A, this is dumb, B, it's not going to work. At the same time, the French government is a lot further along. They're effectively proposing something similar, that ISPs are going to be responsible for blocking people when they share illegal content. So I think there's definitely a push to get this to happen. Whether it actually becomes law or not, I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Good thing we're so much more advanced here in Canada.
Yeah, and the one comment that someone here got from an ISP group was that they have no intention of doing that. And so, but obviously if they were required to by law, I guess they would have to.
That's the reality. Well, I want to thank you so much for joining us, Mathew.
Okay, thanks for having me.
Mathew Ingram from the Globe and Mail. You can check out more of his articles and blogging at globetechnology.com.